Now, continuing on from the previous training video, which if you haven't watched, you want to watch it, otherwise this isn't going to make sense. I want to go ahead and take these two tables and restructure them into two new tables. So it complies with the third junction table, the design there, because these two tables have duplicate fields, and I want to link these two tables up to the primary keys in this table, but these two tables I can't add primary keys to it. Why? Well, let me open it up and show you. The employee ID, I can't add a primary key or assign it to this field because it has duplicate data. Again, primary keys don't allow duplicates. Well, why is there duplicate data? Well, because this employee is listed twice because they're working on two different projects. Also, in the projects table, we've got the project ID duplicated because we can have different employees working on the same project. Well, that's why we created the assignment table, because when you double-click and open it up, it allows duplicates in both fields. Even though we have primary keys assigned to both fields, you could say, wait a second, I thought that you can't have a duplicate in a primary key field. Yes, in just a single field. But if you have two or more fields assigned a primary key, it converts that into a composite key wherein that the combination between the two fields can't be duplicated. So I've got my first record here, 12 and 800. The next one can't be 12 and 800 also between these two, otherwise it's a violation of the composite key. It could be, well, 12 and 900, that's not the same. Or it could be 13 and 800, that's not the same. So you see what I'm saying? It allows duplicates here, but not collectively. So that's how we get around it. Let me go ahead and close out. So when it comes to restructuring these two tables, let me close out. I basically just want to copy these tables and paste them as temporary tables. What do I want to copy? Just the structure. I don't want to copy or include the data because remember, the data is in violation of the primary key. After I copy the structure of these tables and set up the primary key field and say, okay, the employee ID is going to be the primary key, the project ID is going to be the primary key, then I can go ahead and create a query and say, okay, copy these records over into these two new temporary tables. But when it copies and it wants to paste them over, it'll look at those primary key fields and say, oh, there's duplicates. Instead of not appending all of them, I'll just append one of each and not anything else that would be duplicating in those tables. Well, let me show you. Go ahead and right-click the employees table to restructure it, and let's copy. And then either right-click in a blank area to paste, or come up here if you can't find a blank area on the Home tab and click on the Paste button. It'll ask us two questions. It'll say, okay, what name do you want to give this table? And then what paste option do you want to choose? Let me go over the paste options really quick. You have the structure only, which is what we want. We don't want the data because the data contains duplicates. We want the structure, then we want to go ahead and set up the structure, which I'll show you in just a second, or modify it. And then you have structure and data, which contains both. And then you have the append data to an existing table. Now, if you choose this option, what this does is that you'll type in the name of the field that you want to paste what you just copied into. But keep in mind that the field names need to be the same when appending to. So whatever we're copying from, if it's into a new table, it has to have the same field names and, well, also data type, of course. And then when it comes to copying it, there's no drop-down arrow that you can select that table. Instead, you just have to delete this and type in the name of the table exactly as you see it over here that you want to add it to. Okay, like if it's projects, type in TBL projects. Okay, I just want the structure only. Let's go ahead and rename this and just call it, this is going to be our temporary table. And it's going to be EE, temporary employees table, something that I can differentiate between the original table and the one that I'm working on right now. So click OK. It adds it, double click, open it up, just the structure or the fields, not the records. Okay, close out. Let's go ahead and do it for projects. Right click, copy, right click in a blank area, paste. Again, let's go ahead and temp proj for projects. Again, the structure only, and then click OK. Now that we have these temporary tables, and we've got the structures that we just copied over, I want to go in them and set them up. In other words, in the employee table, right-click, go to the design view, the temporary that is. I want to set the employee ID field to be the unique field. So come up here to the design tab, tools group, click on primary key. And because we just have the structure, not the records yet, that's okay. Because if we had those records, there would be duplicates and then it wouldn't allow me to do this, okay? Next, I want to go ahead and delete the project ID field. Why do I want to do that? Well, this table, when I'm finished, is going to be linked to the assignments table through the employee ID, and then the project table is going to be linked to the assignments table through the employee ID. So in other words, it'll be related, the employee ID, through the assignments table to the project table. I don't need to have this extra project ID if it just needs to link and relate through the assignments table, the junction table, to the project table. So I can go ahead and select this or click in the field. Come up here in the Tools group, of course, on the Design tab and click on Delete Rows. Are you sure you want to delete this field? Say yes. And then go ahead and be sure to save your work. Close out. Let's right-click, go to the Design view of our temporary project table. Again, we want to delete the employee ID because we're relating to the project ID in the assignments table and not directly to the employee ID in the employees table, okay? So with that field selected, come up here, click the delete rows, come up here to the project ID, make it the primary key, go ahead and close out, be sure to save your work. And then once we have that set up, next we want to go ahead and create a query that will say, okay, pull in all the records and append them from the employees table into our temporary employees table. Now when it does that, you'd think it would bring over all the duplicates, but it won't, because remember, we just set this field up, the primary key field on the employee ID. So when it starts appending over, well, I'll show you. It'll say, I'll just bring over each one, and if there's any duplicates, I just won't append them to this table. So click Create, go to the Queries group, click on Query Design, double-click the employees table, close out, double-click the employee ID. We're adding that down to the grid below by double-clicking on it. The last name, the first name. Of course, we don't want the project ID, because again, we're taking this and appending it to the temporary employees table, and we got rid of the project ID there because we're relating just the employee ID to the employee ID in the assignments table. When you click on the View button, you got the duplicate fields, right? Go back to the Design view. Let's go ahead and append these records. Come up here on the Design tab to the Query type, click on the Append button. It says what table do you want to add these records to, including duplicates. Click on the drop-down arrow, and we want to go to the Temp Employee table. Click OK. Click Run. It says I'm about to add 25 rows, all the duplicates, but after I click Yes, it says this would make a violation because you have the primary key field as the employee ID that I'm trying to append these records to, and since it doesn't allow for duplicates, I just won't add those 5 records that would create duplicates. So it found 2 records for one example or 1 record and said, okay, between the 2 I'll just add the one and omit the other. And click Yes. Let's go ahead and continue to run the action query anyways. So when I open up my employees table, there we go. Do you see a duplicate 12? No. So it just took the one and omitted the other. Okay, close out. Then I can close out of here and not save it, and let's create a query again to the Queries group, Design, and let's do it for the projects. Go ahead and close out. Double click Add the Project ID, double click and add the project name down to the grid below, and then come up here, click on the Append button. What do we want to append it to? The temporary project table. Click OK, click Run. It wants to add all the rows to it, but after we click Yes, Access looks in that table and goes, okay, you've got a primary key field for the project ID, which has duplicates in this query based upon this table, so I'm not going to add those 12 duplicates. Do you want to run the action query anyways? Yes, and then close out. And we don't have to save that. Okay, now that we have everything that we want in these 2 tables here, the records that aren't duplicating, if I double click and open it up, it's really neat because in here, I don't see Tony Banks listed a couple of times or many times and see duplicates. When I just want to view the employees, I just see 1. Very efficient. Also the projects, I can open it up and view the projects just one time and not have it duplicated and have to sort through all that to get to, I don't know, one of these other projects after a lot of duplicates like revenue analysis and seeing that down at the bottom and, you know, record 30 or 35. What I want to do next is I want to go ahead and, let me close out of these 2, delete the original tables because those are the icky tables, because those are the ones that doesn't allow us to go ahead and create a one-to-one relationship with this one. So we'll select it, hit the delete key. Are you sure you want to do this? Now, if you try to delete something that already has a relationship, and I click Yes, it says you can't delete it until its relationship to the other tables have been deleted. Do you want Microsoft Access to delete the relationship now? You can say yes. And then go ahead and let's do the projects, delete that, and say yes, we do want to delete this. It says you try to delete a database object that's currently on the Microsoft Access clipboard. If you delete it from your database, you won't be able to paste it later. I'm fine with that. Click yes, it's gone. Now all I need to do is, because the temp names don't work for me now, so I can go ahead and right click and rename it back to the original name of TBL, employees, hit enter, and then of course right click to rename TBL, projects, hit enter. Okay, come up here on the Database Tools tab, go to the Relationships group, click on Relationships. Okay, we have the 2 tables here. We need to add the 3rd junction table, so I can come up here, click on the Show Table, and double click on the Assignments, close out, and there we go. So we've got, when we click and drag Employee ID to Employee ID, we want to enforce it and allow updates and deletions, and click Create. There's one to many. Let me drag this over, click and drag Project ID to Project ID, check the corresponding boxes, click Create, a one-to-many. Now you'd think from one primary key to another that it would be a one-to-one relationship, but remember, these 2, when you have 2 or more fields that have a primary key assigned to them, it becomes a composite key. So it's not going to be a one-to-one relationship where it only allows one, but you can have many or duplicate employees here listed working on many projects. And also for many projects, you can have many employees working on that project at the same time. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.